Hi, this is Ed, and I'm in San Diego, California, which is over there, and in the far southwest corner of the USA on the Baja, Mexico border, right along the Pacific. It's a little bit before 5 p.m. today. It's April 3, Thursday. Sun is still shining. I love daylight savings time, don't you? It's great. So this program coming up in just a few minutes is about the Indo-Pacific region. So what's that? Well, it used to be called Asia Pacific, but the new name is Indo, I-N-D-O dash Pacific. And this covers a huge region, Indian Ocean, which is close to India, um, and to the east of Africa, India, and then southeast of there into Malaysia, Singapore, and Southeast Asia, and going right or south to Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, and then up a little bit, a lot actually, towards the South China Sea, and everything gets pretty close there now, offshore from Hong Kong and Shanghai, as Manila in the Philippines, and Korea and Taiwan and Japan. So this hot area, huge area, and the theme of our program is developing international business relationships. And that means making friends and sharing ideas on a lot of different topics. One of the topics is going to be talent development and retention. And I'm showing this map here, which is, of course, the US. And this is all about where high-tech talent workers are these days in the US. Uh, and the data is, well, maybe a year, maybe 2 years old. Um, and it's really interesting if you take a look at this. I have to let people in. Hold on a minute. Okay, here we go. We're going to have a couple of guys join us. Very interesting people. And they should be joining the screen momentarily.
Ed, how are you today, sir?
Hello, John. Hello, Andrew. So, John,
Andrew.
meet each other, guys. This is Andrew Woods in Vancouver. I think that's where you are today.
I am.
Yeah, and this is John Varico, who's in South Central Pennsylvania.
How are you, John?
Outstanding. How are you, sir?
Yeah, that's
Mm.
great. So we're waiting for our Asian guest to show up and a couple of others. Um, and the topic today, and we are recording at this moment, is about the Indo-Pacific region. That's the new name, they say, not Asia Pacific or APAC, but Indo-Pacific. And I was just describing to my audience, the heck does that mean? Indo-Pacific. So, India and the Indian Ocean, which is just west of India and south, and then more southeast towards Malaysia and Singapore, Southeast Asia, and then you can go right or south towards Australia and New Zealand, and then up uh, offshore from Hong Kong and Shanghai, if I get it right, please help me, is the South China Sea. It's an active place these days and getting hotter. So we're going to be covering this whole region, South China Sea, Manila, over to Taipei, upward to Japan and Korea, South Korea. And we're not going to have people from everywhere today, but over time, this series called Developing International Business Relationships is red hot. It is really strong, not only in the Asia area, Indo-Pacific area, but in Canada and Latin America and in Europe. There are
Excellent.
people coming on, and they want to participate in this kind of conversation. Andrew Woods, Dr. Andrew Woods, John, is an author, a two-time author, and has steep experience in living in different places, including China for many years and in Dublin for a few years. He went into a bar and stayed 7 years. So why don't you
That must have been a heck of a night at the
why,
bar, man.
why don't you take over for a minute while I let this guy in?
Yeah, sure. I love it. I mean, my mom was Irish, and when I grew up, I felt like I wasn't very close to her. She had died when I was quite young, and I was sitting in Vancouver, and I bumped into someone. This is 1997, and they turned around. And they said, "Well, why don't you get an Irish passport? You know, you qualify for one. Why don't you get one?" So I was doing odd jobs in Vancouver at the time, cooking. I just finished university. I was cooking and working in bars and restaurants. And I thought I'd go to have a look in Dublin. And I got off the airplane, and there's a lot of chance in life. I had the chance to turn left or right, and I didn't think about it. Turn left, walked into the first pub. The guy goes, "What do you do for a living?" I'm a chef. He pulled the beer away from me and he said, "My chef left yesterday. You want a job?" And the rest is history. I stayed there for a number of years and had a great experience.
It is wonderful how serendipity just so happens, things pop up at just the right time. Hello, Arpin, how are you?
I am good. Yeah,
He
I'm
was
Good.
trying to
very
figure out how
patiently
to.
waiting for Andrew to finish his story.
Why
Yeah,
don't you say hi and introduce yourself, please?
sure, sure. So actually, my name is not Arpin. Arpin is my company.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm working for Arpin. So my name is Joshua, and I'm right now located in Singapore. Yeah,
Nice.
basically I'm the surveyor and the business developer, the business development for Arpin. We are doing household goods, moving services, relocation services for expats. Basically coming in and out from and to Singapore. Yeah, and I've pretty new in this industry. I can see. I think I'm the youngest among all of you guys. Yeah,
Well,
so
it's okay. I remember when I was.
yeah, yeah, pretty new to this
I don't
industry. So
remember when I was young, so that's okay. No, I'm kidding.
yeah,
So would you
it's
do
all
me a
good.
favor? Would you put your name on your ID so that we can see it and call you by your proper name instead of
Sure. Let
calling
me
you
try
Arpin?
to. I'm not very.
Yeah, it's great. No, it's okay. I'm not a techie either, but we're going to have time in just a moment for everybody to introduce themselves. Hello, Erie. Hello.
Hi, Ed. Good
Hi, this
morning.
is Erie in Tokyo. And
Nice.
and so,
Good
Erie, I want
morning.
you to meet um, in the blue shirt from Pennsylvania in the U.S. John,
Oh,
this is John, and in the man all dressed up seriously with a sport coat and, is Dr.
I'm actually
Andrew
underdressed.
Woods, and I'm in a black shirt myself here, and we have with us in Singapore. Um, Mr. Han.
Joshua. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he's with a relocation company called Arpin, ARPIN, which is a U.S. based household goods company I've known for many years. In fact, years ago, I mean a long time ago, David Arpin was and still is a friend, but he actually spoke at many of our meetings in the Northeast U.S. And the Northeast U.S., you can see on this map behind me,
Mm-hmm.
is in the upper right. And this map, let me just give you and the audience out there, what the heck is this? Well, this is, of course, the U.S. And these big circles, if you could come in on those. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to enlarge the screen. Hold on one second. Okay. Now you can see the different cities like on my left behind my head is San Francisco Bay Area and Los Angeles and Seattle up there on, okay.
The
And
funny
then
part is you're pointing to
You're
exactly
pointing
the
to the East
opposite
Coast.
side of the map, but that's okay. We understand.
yeah, yeah. So I'm doing this. Oh my God, doing TV, live TV. Here we are. So this relates to the, according to the guys who did this map, the a number of high-tech people employed in those markets, and it's really huge, as you can see. So I'll get out of the way here. If you look at California, um, San Francisco Bay Area, Silicon Valley, 436,000, LA, 258,000, San Diego, 80,000. And of course, that's a lot of Silicon Valley and related. Now, a lot of those people in LA who are employed within tech actually work for companies up north in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. But they got tired of trying to relocate people into the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, because it's so darn expensive. There's no room, you know, and they're not building new houses as much in that area. So they stay in LA Metro, and the companies moved offices down there, set up offices, so they don't have to commute. Okay, and then COVID came, and then nobody commuted other than through digital. So if you look around this map, you'll see the different areas as much as you could see. Uh, and I thought we'd start with this because um, there's a lot of people who are wondering who's still employed and uh, where are they working. So as of now, they're still in all these places, although the numbers may change a little bit. So this show is all about the Indo-Pacific region today. In other words, what's going on and developing international business relations. So now I want to go back to Dr. Andrew Woods, author of 2 books, and I've asked him to uh, focus us focus us on some things important to him. He's about to go on a big trip. I want to practice full disclosure. I was honored to be featured in one of his first book about the audacious ask. In other words, people with the guts or the balls to ask for money or ask for the business or ask for something. Okay, I know John Varico, he's great at that. And I grew up asking for things. So and then he honored me by putting me on in the book. So we're being joined by Michael Piker, who's in Tokyo. And welcome, Michael. Please
Thank
join
you.
us on screen.
Thank you.
I'm going to reduce myself. One moment, please. Okay, and we'll all see each other. Hello, Michael. How you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you. Great to see
Good,
you all.
good. Thank you. So Michael is a corporate, very senior executive within a very large company in Tokyo, very prestigious, called Shiseido. Did I say that right?
Shiseido.
Yeah, Shiseido. And that's what? Fragrances and luxury, right?
No, beauty brand in cosmetics.
Yeah. Is it for guys as well as women?
Yes, we have both.
Okay, well that's good to know. All right, and with us also is a good old friend of mine. My God, it's for so long, and so nice to have you back, Beverly Sun, with
Pleasure.
Asia Pacific Properties. You're in Hong Kong today?
That's correct. Good
Okay,
morning.
great, great. Okay, now have you met my friend Michael before?
I don't believe not in person, but certainly online, virtually, we have met.
Yeah. Okay.
Morning,
Good.
Michael.
Good.
Good morning.
Good. Good. And our friend Mr. Han in Singapore, please say hello to Beverly and to Michael and to Erie.
Hey, good morning, Beverly, Michael, and Erie. Nice
Morning.
to meet you guys.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
So
Uh,
so Mr. Han is with is an executive, regional executive um,
Business
for Asia,
development.
yeah, business development for the ARPIN, ARPIN,
Yeah.
household goods. Now, does Arpin do anything more than household goods? I mean, that's big enough, but
No. Household goods is keeping us busy enough. So I don't think we are going to move into anything new uh, so soon. So soon, yeah.
yeah. So let me ask you a question. Um, where are your customers who are being moved? Where are they coming from into the Singapore? And are they schlepping their furniture? I mean, why not just rent?
That's a good question. I guess most of the people moving in for the last 2 years would be coming in from the US, majority of them. Generally, I would say furniture wise, it's very hard to say. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of tech company in the US right now that it's very prominent in terms of relocation. But however, don't forget that tech companies consist of a lot of young guys. A lot of them might be single, so they might be moving in with just a couple of boxes of clothes,
Yeah,
kind of stuff,
right.
which affects our
A
business, which is quite
backpack.
bad for our business. Yeah.
Yeah,
A
So
backpack and a laptop.
right.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, we do see some volume, most of the volumes coming from US, but in recent months, I would say majority of the volume from our entire business comes from moving out families from Singapore.
And where are
Yes.
they going to
Uh, I
generally?
would
Or is
generally
there a trend, I guess is
in
my
US, in
question.
US, definitely for semiconductors companies especially.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah.
So are you involved with in Taipei with the TM CC?
Unfortunately, no. We would love to get on some of the action, but I think they are tied up with another company, so we haven't really seen much of their inquiry at all.
Hmm. Okay,
Mm,
so
mm,
I'm reaching out to those guys to invite them to come on the subsequent edition of the show.
yeah.
I'm making it a monthly series, um, and so in months to come, we'll probably have some action.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman, one of your competitors, James Chow, in Taipei, and he and I are discussing him joining the show also, and he is connected up there extremely well.
Mm,
And I'm sourcing almost every day. I'm sourcing people across LinkedIn
mm.
and making my inroads, um, hopefully intelligently for that market. I don't speak anything other than English.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm interested in all of this, obviously because of the sanctions and
yeah,
the impact of movements into, and particularly as we're really dealing largely with non-American passport holders. So that would be something that if there was some type of follow-up from the US with these groups moving into, I find that would be a very interesting topic to be able to discuss.
I'm on it,
We we
and
we
we'll keep
we,
you
we are
informed.
we
Yeah,
ourselves are moving a very large group into Taiwan, interestingly.
good for
And
you. That's great.
oh, it's been going on now for 2 years and continues to expand. And I find that a very interesting move, given that the assignees, transferees come from all over the globe.
Yeah,
Mm.
okay, great. Okay, Erie, meet Michael, and you've already met Beverly in the past. And John Verico and I met in Washington, D.C. at a live meeting that I produced at a big law firm last year, I think, last February.
Yeah,
And
yeah, but that wasn't the
yeah,
first time we met. We met virtually prior to that, but that
yes,
was our
yes,
first in person.
yeah, right.
Love
And
those opportunities for in
yeah,
person.
now at that time you had just retired or you were about to retire from
Mm.
Department of Homeland Security.
Mm.
I had just retired. Yes, that was the last 15 years of my 42-year government career.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's cool. Why don't
Non-political, I will tell you, let's just clarify. I managed to work 42 years in government agencies and never had to get involved with the politics side of things. It was all about the real work of the government agencies and what they actually did on the street for the humans.
So why don't you take a couple of
Good.
minutes here and explain what your related activities were in media?
Oh, absolutely. For 42 years between my service in the Navy and also in state level government and federal level government, my whole focus was on media relations, public affairs, and basically helping to tell the stories of the people who worked in the government and the work that they did. So the whole focus of all of that was to make people aware of not the politics that were going on and the policies, but the actual real work and services and the people behind them, and try to humanize the government to the people that they served. And I loved every minute of it. I would have stayed longer, but I hit that retirement age. It's time to go, and I had other things I wanted to do. But the whole focus of all of that, there were two sides of it. One was to get that story out to the publics that were being served about the people. But also there was an internal thing there because I found that when people could talk about what they do and share their story, they started feeling a little bit better about what they did. They realized that what they did actually mattered and how they made a difference. And that kind of boosted their own self-esteem, their performance, and that became contagious. And the people around them also felt that and started to feel that. And so it was just an internal way for me to keep the morale up, keep the performance levels up, and to fight against anything going on at the political side.
It's really interesting. Okay, Ari, you are the president of Tokyo Lease, which is rental stuff, right?
Yes, I'm the president of the Tokyo Lease Corporation, which is renting furniture to expats. But together we have several companies to serve for the expats. All Japan relocation. And my colleague Emiko is perfectly. She's moving around the world and telling our story, and she's very good at connections, and she's so pretty. And another job we are doing is a real estate. We are selling the property in Japan, and also we are a broker, and our customers are mainly from Hong Kong, Taiwan, and mainland China also. And these people are trying to buy Japanese properties, and now the prices are very high, but still their desire to purchase buildings and apartments in Japan is so high. We are having the good customers. So we are doing pretty well now.
No, I'm really glad to have you and All Japan as my friends, of course, and being on several shows now. This is, I think, the fourth or fifth time that you've been on. Thank you so much. Michael, you've been on many times also, not only from Japan, but from London and even somewhere else. I can't remember.
Yep.
In the background of Switzerland, yeah, in New York. So what are you doing today other than sitting here on TV?
Well, we just gone through our compensation cycle, and Japan is weathering the sanctions that Trump just announced yesterday. There's a lot going on geopolitically. There's a lot of concern about Taiwan, whether the US will support Taiwan if something happens there. We've got huge business in China and travel retail all over APAC. So the economies right now in APAC are quite challenged. So macroeconomically, with Trump's announcement yesterday, the whole stock market has crashed, and there's been a decipherable change in people's view about inflation for the next 6 months. So the economic outlook right now is fairly bleak, to be honest.
Yeah,
Even for our business.
it's really disconcerting and very annoying. I have not wanted to read the headlines. Well, I read the headlines, but I didn't bother to read the stories or even watch anything on TV because it's so upsetting. And he didn't run to do all that. At least I didn't hear a word about all of this. He was going to help the working people, and they're the ones who are going to be hit the hardest here. So it's a strange world. So the Supreme Court and the Democrats, as well as the Republicans in Congress, by the way, are hearing from their constituents. So the other shoe hasn't dropped yet, but there's a rough road, short term, that's for sure.
Yeah, I did a presentation on, for example, D&I yesterday for my students in the Netherlands. And there was a lot of discussion about why D&I is being demonized in America versus the rest of the world. And it's a topic I know really well. So I was trying to sort of coax them that US is one of 210 nation states. So it doesn't define what D&I should or must be. And the rest of the world is making fantastic progress. So I was trying to sort of balance the narrative coming out of one particular country versus the rest of the world. So there's a lot of as an expat in Japan, trying to explain America to Japanese is a full-time job. It it requires nuance, diplomacy, tactfulness. It's
Like,
a real it's a tricky time.
trying to explain America to Americans right now is a challenge.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's a conundrum. I've lived 35 years, and whenever you're in another place, you're sort of a role model for your country. And sometimes you don't necessarily agree with what's going on, but you just have to suck it up. And
I,
it's a
may
tricky
may I
one.
may I tell I was actually working with a group of colleagues in Europe, and we were working on government communication programs and actually put together a book together. But I went out there. We had we were mostly Eastern Europeans, and then we came together in Berlin for this big event to celebrate the book and this multinational partnership on communication. And it was really a great event. But the opening speech, and this was during Trump's first run, the opening speech, the guy gets up and the very first words to open the program, he said, "Every morning I wake up and the first thing I do is I reach for my phone on the nightstand and I look at the news and I try to see how President Trump in the United States has impacted my day."
Mhm. Yeah.
And I looked around the room and I was the only US citizen in that room, and every head turned and looked at me. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. I totally, that's my day every day.
May I just ask, Mike, because you have such deep experience in the culture and having lived in Japan for 35 years, that's quite remarkable. If in fact the current political situation reinforces the reserve and the conservative aspects of what the general population believe about the US, not in a positive way, but it reinforces the reasons for their reserved and conservative approach to the US
It's a
culturally.
no, it's a really insightful question. Thank you, Beverly, by the way. That was very gracious of you. Um, I'll give you a simple tactical example. 24% tariff on Japan announced 2 days ago. Obviously, Japan and the US have such a compatriot relationship, military, economically. You can see I'm also Scoutmaster at Tokyo American Club, so I do a lot of other things. My point is that yes, Japanese tend to be self-effacing, a little more demure in terms of their complaints, but they're very angry. This is a
Yeah.
friend. And by the way, I've lived in actually 9 countries, so my friends in the UK, Switzerland are equally angry, and
Mhm.
the the level of anger I haven't seen in my entire life. This whole ethos of basically your friendships since World War II have now been put aside is something that's profoundly troubling for me being a global gypsy. And every single person I talk to in Japan doesn't complain about it, but is deeply unhappy with America. And our countries are so, so tied historically, economically, geopolitically. And we have, we have 50,000 American troops, for example, in Japan. We have a significant military footprint in this country. And yet, they're going to levy to Toyota and Mitsui and Sony and Shiseido. I work for one of the biggest companies in this country. Our products that will go to the US will be tariffed at 24%. It just doesn't, it's unfathomable to, you read the press, you read the news, there's not a level of complaint, but it's a level of tenor like, why would a friend do that to you? Why would somebody do that to you?
I think that's the concern because it's not expressed, but it runs deep. And when it runs deep, to undo it becomes all the more challenging over time.
Exactly. Yes, yes.
And that's just probably not only true of Japan, but the rest of the world that has been impacted.
Before we
Yes.
bring up
Mm.
a special
Mm.
presentation by my good friend Andrew Woods, he's had many years of experience outside the U.S. He's based in Vancouver, British Columbia right now, and he's got a lot to say. Andrew, why don't you just do a couple of minutes, and then I want to go to you. Folks, please use the chat to send each other messages and, no sales pitches, of course, but certainly exchange website, email, um, date of birth if you want, but don't answer anything else.
I have a question, Ed, for Mike actually, and that is, you had said that the people are angry with America. Are they able to sort of, in your opinion, are people angry at America or angry at the American government?
That's a very
Good point.
important
Yeah.
distinction.
Thank you for
And
asking that.
thank you for asking that. So it's the latter, government specifically, American
Mm,
citizens. I've lived here 4 times. So we have a deep friendship, and that will never change. Japan and America are like fused at the hip. We're best friends. So it's a 4-year impasse, and we know long term, Japanese think long term, that things
mm.
will get better. So Andrew, to your point is, I think it's specifically to the government, not to us as two nation states.
Okay, interesting. The reason I ask is I have Canadian citizenship and I have Irish citizenship, and I was brought in to make a presentation in China right at the time when Meng Wanzhou of Huawei was put under arrest in Canada.
Yes,
Um,
remember
and
that.
and I came out to do my presentation. I was introduced as a Canadian, and people said, "Oh, we're not." People started getting up and leaving, and then I said, "No, no, no. There's a confusion here. I actually hold two citizenships. I'm Irish." And all of a sudden, they started coming back in. The people started coming back in.
Wow.
So it was interesting that I felt that people couldn't differentiate between Canadian government doing something and Canadian people.
Yes.
And I think we have the same thing in reverse, is that people say, "Oh, I don't like China." But is it China that you don't like, Chinese people that you don't like, or is it the Chinese government that you don't like? And it's kind of interesting differentiating between what governments do and what people do and putting them in the same kind of boat.
Hmm.
Fascinating.
I
Very well
truly hope
said.
that the citizens around the world realize that the citizens of America don't hate them and don't want to break up our deep relationships and friendships and partnerships over the years.
Well said. Thank you. The world will see this program as I distribute it across my extensive network, anchored by YouTube, of course, but much more so penetrating is the LinkedIn connections. I'm personally a member in 99 groups and have direct access to all those members, and every one of them will get a link to this program. And so we speak openly. This is an unrehearsed program, as you could tell, but it's also, it's got guidelines. So thank you, people, for watching, and to our faculty here, thank you. Andrew Woods, you are welcome to use my screen share if you want to take a few minutes.
Sure, why not? Why not? Let's see if we can get this up here. Are you seeing that?
Yeah,
We're
it's
seeing
great.
Yes.
it.
Us-
Go to,
Great.
there you go.
yeah, okay,
Okay.
good.
You know, when I'm looking at the group members here assembled, I think you have equal, if not more, knowledge of culture. But I've had a chance to travel around the world. Some of it by accident. I set up a training consultancy in London 25 years ago in the UK. Mostly training British people how to give customer service because they were very poor at it at the time. And that sort of grew into multiple topics and then multiple locations as my network kept growing. I kept being invited to go around the world. So I've had a chance to train and develop people in 22 countries. And I kind of picked up a lot of interesting cultural things along the way. So Ed had asked me to just kind of share some of the stuff with you and bear with me. And if you're interested, the show will go on and let's go. Let's have a look. So, you know, here's some kind of snapshots of training and developing all around the world. We got Beijing in the corner here, Singapore. What else we got? We got Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. And I remember I was giving this, I ran a workshop 2 days ago, and I was talking about my time in Saudi Arabia. And it was interesting that you talk about culture, and it was right after the second, I guess it was, Iraq war had just started. And I was training a course on customer service and sales the next day. And I was asked what my opinions were of George W. Bush. And I said, well, he seemed like a great guy, kind of guy that you'd want to go and have a beer with. And you know, when you say something and as it's coming out of your mouth, you go, whoa, I think I've done something really wrong here, you know? And you're in a culture that doesn't, you know, doesn't drink, and also it's, you know, a culture where the country, you know, a couple doors down has been invaded by this person in their eyes, you know. So it's there's been a lot of those things along the way where I've made mistakes. And I think the key thing for me is everywhere I go now. When I first moved to China many years ago, I picked up a copy of a Chinese history book and I actually read the whole thing. So I would meet people and I would go, "Well, what's your favorite dynasty?" And then they'd look at me and go, "I don't know," you know. And then I would be able to explain to them some of my the things that I had read, and I found that, you know, that got me really far in China. I never really picked up the language. It was something that I can speak it, but not terribly well, and I make a lot of mistakes. Um, but I just released a book recently, and I know it's not a pitch, so I'm not asking you to go out and buy it, but I just released a book on soft skills in the age of artificial intelligence because what I'm finding is that I teach a lot. I teach on an MBA program here in Canada, two different universities, and I'm finding that this generation really is lacking. No matter what the culture or where they're from, they're lacking these sort of common soft skills, sales, the ability to sell and negotiate, the ability to write emails, empathy, all of these things. So it's kind of something that, and most importantly, I think, is this cross-cultural communication is something that's lacking.
Yes.
You agree with that? Who said that? Is that
I
Beverly?
totally agree with you. My entire practice has been built around cultural.
Okay, interesting.
Mhm.
And it seems to me that this is something that as we seem to be integrating more, it seems to be getting worse. And that's just my observation. I don't know. Certainly with my students anyway, it seems to be getting worse. Each intake, we did 4 intakes a year, and each one, it seems that the situation is getting worse. The ability to, you know, show empathy, be able to communicate, email. I had an email the other day from a student. He said, "Hey, brah was in the title. Can you let me know what's going on with the grades? Are you going to get them back?" And you know what time that email or that message came to me at on Teams? 2:30 in the morning. You know, absolutely no concept of boundaries or time.
What were you doing up at that hour?
Well,
Oh no, I wasn't. I saw it the next.
Oh, okay.
I saw it the next morning. So
by the
anyway,
way, okay,
yes.
bra is slang in Hawaii for brother.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. That's what he intended.
Yeah.
So basically,
Yeah.
he's saying, "Hey, brother, where's my grades? You know, what's up?"
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, interesting. Is
No,
that where
no,
you're?
no respect for the professor, however. It was like,
Yeah, is that where you're originally from, Beverly? Or
Yes, correct.
oh, okay, okay, interesting. just thought we'd have a laugh if you guys bear with me. This is like a 2-minute clip. You may have seen this before, but I think it's pretty funny. Shall we give this one a go?
Yes.
Sure.
Absolutely. I think you've got to start it over, and when you do the stop sharing, reshare, and make sure you toggle the add computer sound.
That sounds way too much for me to handle, John. Maybe we pass on that, and I'll send you the link later. But one of the things I use in all my cross-cultural communication courses, and it's been around for so long, but I don't know if any of you are familiar with this, but I always, whenever I go to a new country, I kind of try and do a deep dive into it, and then I look at the Hofstede's cultural dimensions. Anyone familiar with this model?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah, I
around
was
for a
gonna
long
say,
time,
yeah,
but I still use
centuries.
it. And actually it's evolving into, he's got some other ones about indulgence, and these are more are newer things. But I look at the power distance model and the individualism model. So when I first moved to China, being from Canada originally and then living in the UK for a number of years, my MBA classmates invited me over to work in their advertising firm, and they were very modest. They said to me, "We own a small advertising company in Shanghai." And I went there, and it was like the second largest in the city. There was like 500 and something people working there. And they gave me this flashy office and flashy title. And my role was to basically, during the Shanghai World Expo, was to go around and meet Western companies and encourage them to do advertising with our firm. And it's funny because I noticed the individualism right away in the collectivism is that I was in a meeting and I was like, I just made the big sale. I just did this. I just did that. And then my MBA classmate who owned the company pulled me aside and said, "So how'd you get to the meeting?" And I said, "Oh, well, Beverly wrote down in Chinese the directions to get to the meeting." "All right, all right. And what did you present?" "Oh, I presented this PPT that I can't remember her name, had done this PPT for PowerPoint for me, and she translated it into Chinese and English. And how did you get the meeting?" "Oh, that meeting was set up by her." And you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden he's like, "So you kind of see that it's not I, your team made this deal,
Wow.
and it totally changed my way of thinking about how I kind of, dealt with people when I was in that society. And it made a big difference. And I found that other expats didn't do that. They didn't adapt to and not all of them, by the way, that's a gross generalization, but a lot of people didn't take the time to adapt to the new culture, and that's why they were struggling. They were struggling so badly because they brought their rule books. And it was interesting. I worked with a lot of companies then, helping them to improve their sales and what have you. And a lot of the American companies would come in and they would throw down the HR manual from the States, and they would say, "Okay, convert that into Chinese and let's go." And they found that they didn't spend any time to learn the cultural differences and how the work ethic is different, and all of these things are so different. And the last one that I thought was really interesting was, well, uncertainty avoidance is interesting as well. And you can break it down if you look at a country like if you look at Britain, for example. I lived in London for a while, and I also lived in Wales, and there was a totally different attitude towards risk taking between London and 150 miles up the road in Wales, with much more risk averse. And the last one being long-term orientation. I found that getting deals done when I was in China and when I was in other parts of Vietnam as well, getting deals done was often very frustrating for me until I got familiar with it and realized it's not going to happen today. It's going to be a couple of dinners, and I'm sure you experienced that, Beverly, in Hong Kong, is that the whole idea of building those. And I don't know what it's like in Tokyo, Mike, but that whole notion of building these long-term relationships where we go out a few times, we have quite a few dinners, and a lot of people that are used to that quick, instant gratification, getting that deal done right away, they walk away usually because they can't handle these long um, uh, warm up periods or whatever. But if I just noticed there's a big difference between long-term orientation. I can't speak to whether that's completely across Asia or if it's just in China, Vietnam, Cambodia, those kind of places where I have done business. I mean, Mike, I'd love your feedback for Japan.
Happy to help.
Yeah. Okay. Is it a long-term orientation, or does it take a while to get business, or?
Yeah, so I've lived all over Asia, not just Japan, but yeah, I'm sure my colleagues know, and you lived in China like I have too. I lived in Shanghai.
Oh,
It's
nice.
a
Okay.
long sales cycle, culturally, patience, and the whole ethos about go to market, the we concept, as you rightly said.
Mm.
It's a completely different mindset and sales cycle.
Okay, yeah.
You have to be in it for the long haul.
Okay, okay. And the other thing that I find that went over really well when doing training and what have you is number one, taking interest in other people. It took me a while, because I just said about the I thing, and now when I approach any cell in Asia or in Europe or whatever, it's always about the other person. And it took a while for me to shift into that mode, years actually. But now I've shifted to it being about them, not being about me. I don't talk about, of course I am now because that's what I'm doing, but I don't discuss the things the things that I'm up to. I just keep asking people what they're up to and then wait. You know what I mean? And those are the kind of, like, this is such a short little presentation, but those are the kind of things that I found that when I actually took the time to understand, Aaron Mayer's work at the Culture Map and uh, and Hofstede and these other people and their other ideas, is that and also spend time really digging into the history of the country. I say that to my students all the time. My students are international students where I teach. They're all from, a lot of them are from, well, here's a picture of one of my classes right here. And I say to a lot of them, look, Canada has 150 years worth of history. It's going to take you 2 hours to read that book. But I ask them things like, who's Wayne Gretzky? Who's Terry Fox? Who's our heroes of Canada? None of them know. None of them can answer. And I think it makes it so much more important and so much easier to do business cross culture when you just invest that time, which I know I'm speaking to people who are already doing this, but it's just such an important message that I keep trying to get across to my students, that you need to, your host country, you need to take the time to learn things about it. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I totally agree. I
Mm.
would say that it's really not about the dinners. It's really about the time spent. We do it informally and as well as the dinners, but it's really a trust module.
Trust, indeed.
I think that's so basic to any relationship, and you don't develop that in an instant because you have a PowerPoint presentation. That's
Mm.
important, but you need to really work with individuals.
Yeah.
In one of the countries that we work with as I would say, a regional RMC, it took us about a year and a half to implement a major strategy, because the idea of patients developing relationships after
Mm.
which you work on trust, uh, it took that amount of time.
Yeah. The
So,
amount of mistakes that I've made, and you learn from your lessons and you bounce back. But I'll go back to Saudi Arabia again. I had a very big contract with them, with this particular company. And one time, without telling the people I had the relationships with, I'm sending another trainer. I think this trainer was more qualified, was a great trainer. Sent this person, and then it went cold. Our relationship went cold right away.
mm,
And I just couldn't understand it. Why, when I'm sending a better trainer, and this fellow pulled me aside and he said, we built a relationship with you, not your company, not your company name. We built a relationship with you. And I always emphasize that in my sales courses, is that people buy from people.
that's right.
But if you
Yeah.
build that trust and you build that relationship, it's the people, not the
Okay.
company.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
going to say that people do business with people, not with businesses, not with companies.
definitely.
And it is all about trust. We have to know that we have to get to know each other. We have to know where we're coming from. We have to know other people's why.
Mm,
And when we know their why, we get to understand, and that's when we base our trust on.
Yeah,
indeed.
so Joshua, jump in here. What do you think of all this?
I think Andrew is pretty on point in terms of having the importance of building a long relationship before,
Mm,
taking time to understand and to trust each other before real business can be done with each other. I guess it's not really for Asian kind of thing, but because I've been doing sales for B2C, business to business as well, and I think it's pretty much similar across all B2B's sales cycle, where it takes a longer time because a lot of time you won't be pitching to the decision makers. And in order for you to get to the actual decision makers, it might take you some time to you might need to I would say how would I put it across? Maybe pitch and have that long-term relationship with that gatekeeper of the decision maker.
Yeah.
So that
Absolutely.
that itself will require some effort and time to maintain that kind of relationship. So I think it's not really an Asian thing. But of course, I've never lived in China, but I heard that China generally it's a much longer process compared to the regular sales cycle. Yeah, I mean, this is my observation.
A lot of toxic baijiu drinking.
Yeah, I guess.
Actually, I find China, I agree with all of this, but I don't find it the most conservative because China was ready to go yesterday. They are moving at such lightning speed. So they're a newer community, but a very forceful, much more self-confident, and much more open than they were 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
Definitely.
I find other communities within the APAC region much more conservative and tenaciously hold on to those old values of relationships and status quo within the APAC region. Could be Japan, Taiwan, and even Singapore. So
Definitely, but
China has changed quite dramatically.
definitely the younger generations are very quick to jump to business and don't have the time or the interest of the long
Yes.
term. So I've seen it evolve over the almost 20 years now that I've been involved with China, and I've seen it evolve so much. But certainly there's still that old mentality as well with some people, but the younger generations definitely are quicker to act and quicker to and some of them don't drink, so you don't some of the younger people say, oh, I'm not interested in baijiu or late nights, or I want to go home to my family, or I want to, so that mentality has shifted too.
But it's all about food.
Oh yeah, definitely.
For sure.
I don't blame them. Yeah, it's great food. It's one of the things I miss very
Andre and
much.
Vivery, I went to China last week, and I'm so surprised to see they are so advanced. When I look at the street from my hotel, the half of the vehicles passing in front of me are electric, and they are using the car with a cassette.
Yes.
And it is amazing. And
Where were you?
Guangzhou. And
Wow.
when I was in Guangzhou, I had no time to spend cash because everything paid by Alipay.
Okay. Alipay,
That
WeChat.
was,
WeChat, yeah.
Wow.
even the beggars in the street, they
Hit the QR code.
Yeah, QR code.
Yes.
And I went to the furniture show, and everybody wanted to connect with a WeChat. Do you have a WeChat account? So WeChat is everything. So now connecting with people is by WeChat. They have all the information inside and communication inside. So that's quite difficult to connect with China, with Chinese people without WeChat or Alipay. So
Definitely.
Wow.
Totally.
Well,
Totally.
at least you don't have to do currency exchange then before you
No,
from one place to the other.
it never had checks. There was never cash transferred. It's always been paperless.
Wow. Amazing.
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 That's great. You had a great trip. If you go to Shanghai, there's such a buzz. Everybody is sushi. It's a young population. It's open to new ideas. It can't absorb enough. And state of the art, culturally, artists, music, all of it. Beyond anything I think most people have experienced.
Another thing I'm so impressed was that I know that the Trump administration is trying to kick out environmental issues, but in China, they are serious about sustainability. And from the airplane, I saw the big wind turbines, and they're building a lot of solar power stations, and they are serious. And the people said it's cheaper to buy electric because electricity is cheaper than oil. That makes sense. The Chinese people are very keen to spend less money for fuel. So that makes sense. So I was completely shocked and really admire the Chinese people for such an advanced technology and their mindset to change the world. to be a sustainable orientation. So my trip was so fruitful.
You
Oh, that
know,
is fabulous.
Yeah.
The automotive industry is just incredible. And the costs, 1/4 that of a European or US car. And they can't even beat the design. Again, the environmental efforts that they put into the manufacturing of cars, state of the art.
The thing
Creating
speed.
creating new guidelines for the globe, in fact.
Mhm.
And
which we all need to
new-
be taking an example from.
Mhm. It's not
We-
without,
we-
and no country is without its challenges, obviously. And I think that there, when you see such a large populace moving forward so rapidly, and their hunger for knowledge and their hunger to be part of a sustainable environment, of their interest in developing themselves through cultural experiences globally, it's remarkable. You go to New York, you go to Los Angeles, you go to Europe, and you see Chinese tourists. They're respectful. They're so hungry to absorb. It's exciting, and without biases.
Right. Yes. Which makes me, no, I'm just going to say, it makes me embarrassed for some of what our people do and the way we act sometimes.
Mhm.
It's, I mean, I was in the Navy, I traveled around the world, and you know, our sailors, there were some sailors that were respectful and wanted to learn about the culture before we went into the countries, and then the other ones who just wanted to go and find the nearest bar and act like an idiot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Andrew,
Very
tell
good.
me, please, we don't have much time left, but this is a wonderful
That
conversation,
went
and
fast.
please come back. So, Andrew Woods, AI.
No.
You said we don't have much time.
He says, AI, hit the button, go. Ow.
I'm speechless because I know nothing. Well, I have to say that AI is taking notes of whatever we're trying to say here, and so I'll send you whatever Otter or whatever it is writing down about this conversation here. Andrew, tell us about your book.
Um, yeah, I mean, I mentioned it a little bit in the presentation, is that, you know, I've just found that the more we advance with technology, the lack of communication skills, or so actually the lack of soft skills in general, it's just getting more and more and more, that it's shocking. You know, I mean, I went to visit my daughter who lives in the UK, and she sent a text. Imagine this: I see her once a year. I was sitting down in the living room. She was upstairs, and she sent me a text message saying, "I'll be down in about an hour. I've got to talk to my friends." I said, "No, no, no, no. You don't send me a text message. You come down the stairs and you tell me what's going on. This is not a large house. It's a small house. You can do this, you know." But I really was an eye opener with students. You know, I've been teaching soft skills for years, but when this is good for me, I just find that the situation is getting worse, not better. That people are unable to communicate, they lack empathy, I mean, it's shocking. And I think that in the age of AI, these are the skills that if you have them, you're going to move forward. When we're going to see massive job cuts, there will be new jobs to replace them in time, but people just don't, the AI cannot replicate empathy. AI cannot, you know, AI cannot be a bot and say, "Oh, we're sorry you missed a plane because you had an accident." A human can do that. AI will just say, "Rule number 7 says you missed a plane, no
Yeah.
refund.
Sorry,
Goodbye."
yeah.
You know? Whereas a
Exactly.
human agent can say, "Well, you know, okay, you missed a plane and you had an accident and there's 2 extra seats on this next plane. You know what? No fee for you." And we're living in this world where I think the more powerful AI gets, the people have to brush up on those skills that AI will never be able to replicate, or unlikely be able to replicate in the near future.
Absolutely, Andrew. That's exactly what we need. That's what I've been doing and trying to reinforce is those human to human skills. That's what Share Your Fire is all about. It's got to be about humanizing what it is that we're doing and what we're seeing and every action that we take. It's that human to human. Nothing. They were trying to cut back on meetings because they said it was wasteful spending. And one of the things that they did was they canceled a lot of conferences and things like that for a while. This is going back a number of years in federal and state level governments. And they were saying, this is wrong. And somebody said, hey, wait a minute. You can't email a handshake. You don't get a real relationship by being, but behind a text. Actually have to see people, touch people, talk to them, get to know them, understand them, know what their, again, going back to know what their why is, because you can't sell and you also can't serve if you don't know who it is you're working with.
Indeed.
If I could add
100%.
to that, also, you cannot do this virtually. We've been receiving quite a number of people from Europe as well as the US of recent. And for some of them, it has been their first visit. And particularly from the US, comments are, it's so different from what I understand of Asia, or it's so different from what I understand of Hong Kong and China.
Mm.
It's that visit,
Yes.
the exposure. And very, very bright, talented people that have been coming through is and to hear them say that is a reinforcement of the quality of communication on a one-on-one human touch interaction.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which is why I love to travel, meet people, learn about them.
Okay, so we're waiting for your trip.
I'm coming. So one of my
Anyway.
clients owns a travel agency in Japan. And so I will be coming out there and visiting.
Well, I'm in Hong Kong, so you
I'm in
need
Japan.
to jump over,
I'll
jump
go and see
over
Amy
after
first.
See you,
Japan.
John.
Yeah,
Yeah, be my guest.
it is a part of the world that unfortunately I have not yet traveled to. So I'm coming.
Yes. Okay.
You will
Let me know.
you will love
I'll
all
show you
of it.
around.
So thank you all for the next show, which will be about a month from now. And see if you can invite somebody else to join our talk. And we'll grow slow,
Glad to.
but grow well and healthy. And thank you for joining me on this program. This has really been a learning experience for me. Let me go back to the gallery here.
Wonderful.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Ed, for always being such a gracious host. Thank you for
Indeed.
your time.
Definitely. Definitely.
So the
Yay.
theme is
Pulling together some
developing
great people.
international business relationships. Joshua Hahn, thank you for showing up. Nice to meet you. Please come back next time and bring a client or bring a coworker.
Sure,
Mhm.
definitely.
Okay.
Thanks for the
Yeah.
invitation, Ed. It was really great
Yeah.
to meet new
So
folks.
this is not a charity, but there is never a registration fee for our programs. We always survive on sponsors and advertisers and members, but more about that another time. So for anyone who wants to join this program, it's free. But just show up and
Thank you.
meet people.
Mhm.
Always great.
Really.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you, Ed. Really.
Thanks.
Thank
And you
you.
do such a
Mike,
great job of pulling great
see you in
people.
Hong Kong, Mike.
Yeah, see you somewhere. Thank you.
Okay.
I got to
Ed,
visit all of you
Ed,
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ed, why don't you do
Yeah.
these live in Hong Kong and Japan? Why don't we get some live events going? You've done some great ones.
Oh, I remember you jumping on the stage in Seattle here. So
Jumped off the stage, actually.
oh, jump off.
But it'd be great to get these events going in Japan and Hong Kong. I mean, it'd be wonderful.
Oh, I know Joanne would like me to do that, but
Andrew, I'm sorry. I
fine.
just got a mental image of you like crowd surfing, jumping off the stage
No,
into the.
You would think he's from Australia. He'd be a kangaroo. He's so physically fit. He just bounds around.
Take care, all.
All right. Ciao.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.